What's good, my people? Welcome into No Catch Up Sports Talk via Chicago. I am your host, Sean Little. Big Nick the Quick with me. The Philadelphia 76ers get blown out at the crib in Game 7. Boston, Jason Tatum, get it done. We're going to break down that game. And, of course, what's next for the Sixers? Does James Harden come back? Should he come back? Do they build around Maxey and Embiid? I got Embiid's audio from the postgame that some people are a little upset about. We'll talk about that. And then how live are the Miami Heat? They open up, the Celtics open up at minus 500. It goes to minus 550. You could get Jimmy Butler, Eric Spoelstra, and the Miami Heat right now to win the Eastern Conference for plus 450, plus 460 I've seen in some places. We'll talk about that. Probably leave the show with Ja Morant. We got to comment on that. I want to talk a little bit about Jordan Poole as well. I got a couple thoughts on that. We'll get to it. No Catch Up Sports Talk via Chicago. Let's get it.
Now look at Mossy. Really? Oh, so that's how you're going to play it. You going to do this? Okay, fine. That's all I needed. That's all I needed for him to do that. And it became personal with me.
Nick the Quick, what's happening?
How we feeling?
What's going on?
Man, beautiful Monday.
You know, that's it.
Starting the week off right. You know,
starting the week off right, man. We usually don't run on Monday, but we figure with the playoffs picking up like they are, like, yeah, man, we should just hop on, talk a little more. We'll come tomorrow as well. We'll probably come later on in the week. Lakers Nuggets start tomorrow, game 1.
Yep.
Hopefully Jokic is back from Italy. And
quick detour here. He need some cheese and Chianti real quick. He'll be back, man.
Hopefully the boy is back from Italy and can get it rocking. So we'll stay tuned there. Let's start with Ja Morant. To be honest, Nick, I didn't even want to talk about this because there's not much to say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have much to say. It's very mind-boggling, idiotic, dumb behavior. There's nowhere else. There's nothing else to say about it. Talk to a few. Gut tells me he'll probably lose a lot of his endorsements. We're talking Powerade. We're talking Nike.
Easy.
We're talking.
Oh, Nike's on the table.
We're talking Powerade. We're talking Beats by Dre. We're talking Nike. Nike is potentially on the table because I think this is now back-to-back
Hulu
in a few months' time. That's been a really bad look for them. Now, they did just pour a bunch of money into the development of that new Ja Morant signature shoe.
2 weeks ago, literally, the shoe just dropped, right?
So that's a big question mark because it's hard to recoup the bread if you dip,
right,
and give up on the relationship, right? And, Nike's been known to stay with their guys. They stayed with Tiger. They stayed with they've stayed with a couple guys over
Tiger,
the years.
They stayed with Kobe. They stayed with Mike. They stayed with Mike Vick.
When stuff gets spicy for Nike, they tend to stick by their guys. So we'll see what happens there.
But I would say, I would agree with you that Nike might stick around, but I think the other ones are out of it. So I think when he had Hulu, which is Disney, right, and you think about the companies who are behind the companies that he had issues with, so or that he has deals with. Hulu is Disney. Powerade is Coca-Cola, I believe, and Beats by Dre is Apple. So you're talking about some of the largest conglomerates in this industry, right? That the largest, right? The Alphabet Boys. Yeah. And
Alphabet Boys. That's funny. Yeah. For
so
sure.
So I think obviously that's unfortunate. You add that on top of the 45 to 50 million he lost by not making the All-NBA team and kicking in the Rose extension. And I think we were talking about this yesterday. It's clearly well over $100 million, right? And you're getting deep. When you start talking about the fact that he's, 23, 24 years old, these are partnerships that tend to last a lifetime. I remember Barkley the other day just said he's still signed to Nike. Charles Barkley hasn't played basketball in 30 years. So, I mean, these are lifelong type partnerships. So you start talking about that. Then just like the overall impact that it has of just dumb shit. And I know there's a lot of debate on Twitter of, oh, but what about these Republican senators who are taking pictures of guns with their family? Yeah. Listen, man, number one, they weren't under the microscope like Ja was. It is what it is. If you want to get into that debate, that's fine. But the fact of the matter is just 3 months ago, not even, right, a month and a half ago, he was suspended for similar behavior. And as soon as the season ends, as soon as he gets an opportunity to go back on live, this is what he's doing. So I don't want to hear any of that other shit. It's 100% dumb shit. It's clown behavior. You have nothing to gain from it. It's not worth $150 to $200 million in any scenario. I don't care what the excuse is. To me, there's nothing that they can come out and say or try to spin, whoever it is, that's going to make this seem like it was a good idea. It wasn't just some of the dumbest shit I think that you and I can recall in quite some time. Like even criminal activity. I understand criminal activity to an extent. This is dumb.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? Like this is dumb. And I just don't understand who's advising him. Maybe he's just a dumb guy. Maybe the people around him are dumb. You see his boy tried to save him as soon as he showed the gun. He took the camera off him. But it's just like, I don't get.
We got the chance to win, but you know, it's
the whole going live shit with your boys in the car, like the whole shit is corny as fuck, man. Like Ja could be doing anything in the world, and that's what he's choosing to do. So it's just ridiculous, man.
Yeah, that I'm not going to speak too much more on it. It's very dumb behavior. I don't know what he's got going on or whatever it is. What do you think is? We'll end with this, and then we'll get to the game 7. What's the proper penalty? 25 games, 30 games,
From
40 games, half the season, 41 games. No,
yeah, I mean,
you coming from the league now.
Yeah, I think you went the sympathetic route the first time with kind of the allusions to substance abuse and just out of control lifestyle and young, rich, and famous. You no longer have that. At this point, it's disciplinary. And look, man, you got to uphold the image of the league. So probably 20 games. You know,
he got 8. Now listen, Nick, he got 8 the first time.
Yeah, sure, but that was a team suspension, correct?
Yeah, but you know that's the team suspension that was ran through the league. That was like,
it's good interesting, man. We really haven't seen Adam Silver do a whole bunch of personal conduct shit. I mean, what did Kyrie? Yeah, you know, like this, the NFL, like we could either be a blueprint. We'd probably see him in 5 years, but after like 6 different hearings too. But in the NBA, there's no real precedent for this. I think, what did Kyrie get? Kyrie was kind of just banned from the team, but again, that was like a team banishment. You haven't really seen Silver come out and suspend somebody. Miles Bridges was a free agent this year, so he just was unsigned. Like I can't
think
recall.
20's enough?
I think 20 will probably do it, which will cost him more bread because this deal kicks in next year.
Yeah, it's going to cost him a ton of bread. Well, this is all. I mean, this is going to end up costing him
burning money.
50, 60, 70. Who knows?
Well over. It's just
probably $100 million. But yeah, it's crazy. All right, let's move off that. I don't want to talk about that anymore. We'll see what shakes there. Let's get to the game 7. Philadelphia, the 76ers go into Boston. They get smoked out. 112-88. Wasn't even that close.
Yeah.
If you really want to know.
No.
They never game 6 was the opportunity. And we went into it and laid it out on I was on a couple different outlets talking about the Celtics are just never going to lose in this spot. As much as I personally don't like how the Celtics go about their business. Yeah. That's just a spot that they're not going to lose.
There's zero
game
chance.
7's overall. It's like an 80% clip you win if you're the home team.
Well, not to mention their players have been in 7 or 8 game 7s between those guys have a lot of game 7
they've been here before, no doubt.
Been there before.
Tatum follows up last year's 46-point performance in the playoffs in a big spot to a 51-point record-breaking game 7 at home to tuck away the Philadelphia 76ers. I can't stress, and I want people to realize how finite these narratives and like how the history can change very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to game 6 in the third quarter, we are now talking about the Sixers getting it right finally. Tatum doesn't show up in big spots. He follows up the finals with an Eastern or second round Eastern semifinal performance, one of the worst offensive performances we've ever seen. He's 1 for 15 from the floor. He can't do anything. Fast forward a quarter. We're now talking about the coaches getting fired. We're breaking up the Sixers. Tatum is the man. He doesn't have a chance to drop 51 if you bury him in game 6. You understand what I'm saying? So these type of opportunities they're so strong together and they affect so many things. And I mentioned on buckets, if the Celtics come out and blow these boys out like they did, you're never even going to think about the Sixers really having a chance. Like historically, we're going to go back and be like, yeah, Sixers got their ass blown out in game 7. They lost game 6 because they choked. And it's never going to be seen as like they had a real opportunity to win that series. They would be favored versus the Miami Heat and have a real chance to go to the finals where they would have a chance to compete. I'm not picking them over the Nuggets or the Lakers probably, but to get to the finals in your MVP year is such a big difference. And I might be getting ahead of myself a little bit. Who knows what would have happened against Miami? But now we're talking about him we were a quarter away from him potentially being in the finals and it being a massive successful year and Embiid's on the up and up and Harden's going to get a new deal and this, that, and the third. To Embiid, we don't know if he can get out of the second round.
Yeah.
That's how finite this shit is. That's why you got to win. You got to close out those games at home. It just is a massive thing. You score 11 points in the fourth quarter in 9 garbage time minutes in game 6 at home. It's just inexcusable. I want to play. Yeah.
Real quick, just on that, and just to add to what you just said, as far as it just being the narrative being so fragile, even for someone like Tatum, who right now, you know what I mean, he's the belle of the ball, right? Like everybody, he's getting all the publicity, everything right now. Tatum's great. If he goes out in these first couple games in the Eastern Conference Finals and isn't good, guess what? We're right back on, is Tatum a choke artist? So as much as we love this 51 right now, people could forget about it in 8 days. Like, that is how fine a line you are walking on, right? So, like, if Tatum was like a stock ticker, it would look like this in the playoffs, right? Like, you're either very high, and he's kind of like that as a player in general, so I think he's a great example of it. Yeah. But, like, you're really high on him or really low on him. Same thing with the Sixers, right? It's like, yeah, like you said, they win in game 6. It's like, oh, man, we've turned this around. Harden delivered big time. You know what I mean? He had 2 massive games, game 1, and what was that, game 5 or whatever it was where he went crazy. Like, oh, man, Embiid's an MVP who's carried his team to the finals. And then for Boston, it would be the complete opposite. Like you said, Tatum's trash. Mazzulla's awful. We need to break these guys up. They haven't had a lot of success. But, again, as much as it's in Boston's favor right now, you go out there, you lay a couple duds against Miami, we go right back to the other side of it, and you or I are texting each other like, man, Tatum's trash. You know what I mean?
Well, so he's now, Jimmy, now it's another big spot versus – the Heat, and he's having a tough time. But yes, it's very finite, man. The Philadelphia 76ers had that shit locked up, and we went from talking the entire offseason about how small Jason Tatum came up in the second round versus the Philadelphia 76ers to the Sixers giving him an opportunity to have the best game 7 of all time.
It was a Sixers collapse, no doubt about it.
That's the difference in these spots. He never even should have had an opportunity to go for 51, and that's how quickly the history and the narrative changes.
Game 6 should cost Doc his job, not game 7.
Absolutely.
Game 6, and specifically the last 5 minutes of game 6, which to this mind-blowing that, you know, just the amount of different things that happened there that, you know, they could have not allowed to happen and won the game. Sorry.
Yeah, no question. So, yeah, the other thing that's been brought up, you lose the game, you lose the series, you've never been in the Eastern Conference Finals. Because you know where this is going, right? This is also going to start to get to Embiid. Is Embiid had Jimmy, they couldn't get out. Embiid had Harden, they couldn't get out. Sure. It's like, you know what I mean? This is how it goes, right? Here's the full context of what Joel Embiid said, because people were up in arms on Twitter saying, you know, Joel Embiid threw his teammates under the bus, said me and James can't do it with anybody else after that stinker of a performance that him and Harden put up. Embiid was 5 of 18 from the floor with 15 points. He was
Al Horford is still in his pocket right now.
He was a minus 28. Al Horford is in his house right now.
Yeah, he's eating his breakfast, everything. Or yeah, just changing the color of the walls. What's the whole thing? He was in his pocket.
The whole thing. Harden, 3 of 11, 9 points, 7 assists. I mean, 5 turnovers. Embiid and Harden had 9 combined turnovers and had 24 total points.
Yeah.
So it's just not going to cut it. Here's Joel Embiid after the game talking about the overall scope of the year. Here's the full clip, not just the butchered clip of him saying him and Harden need help.
We got the chance to win, but it's going to take more than us. We all got to look at ourselves. I got to be better, and I will be better. That's what I'm focused on. All of us, we got to come back and find ways to just keep improving and help the team. You can't win alone. I can't win alone. Me and James, we just can't win alone. That's why basketball is played 5-on-5. So, we just need everybody to just, try to keep finding ways to get better, and we'll be fine.
So now that you see the full clip, Nick, I'm sure you saw it already, but any thoughts on that response, on what needs to happen going forward for the Philadelphia 76ers?
Yeah, so initially, I got the notifications with the headline of essentially James saying me and Harden can't do it alone. So when I watched it, I did watch the full clip, even starting before what you showed. And his initial response to the question is, can you and James get it done? Are you going to be in his ear in the offseason recruiting? And he's like, look, we still have unfinished business, yada, yada, yada. Like, there was a whole lot that went in before he got to James and I can't do it alone. Yeah. And when you put it in that context, it made sense. He was just saying, like, look, man, like, yeah, obviously we have unfinished business, but there's other things that need to go on in order for this to happen. So I get it. I don't think it was that bad. I understand if you were to just take out that one sentence, what it sounds like he's trying to say, and blame everybody else. I don't think that's the case. I think he was just saying basketball is a 5-on-5 sport. Obviously, James and I are a great start, but you got to have other guys. So would I have said it? Probably not. Just knowing how it's going to be taken out of context. Yeah. And there's a lot of other things you can say in that situation that aren't that. But am I up in arms about it, or do I think that Joel Embiid is blaming other guys for his failures? No, not at all, man. I think that, again, look, man, these post-elimination press conferences are always – you're catching guys, girls, whoever in the sport, athletes, at the height of emotion. You know what I mean? Like just like the agony of defeat, right? The season's over. Everything you started for, remember, this is going back to training camp, off-season workouts, whatever it is, it's over now, right? And no matter what Giannis said, you failed. So
right.
Which Giannis cutting that shit with Kobe was really corny. Giannis, I've very rarely am I not on Giannis' side. You didn't see him cut his failure quote with Kobe and then post it to his Twitter?
No.
So I'm gonna say this. It's terrible.
Okay. Yeah.
For a guy that doesn't seem to miss much, Giannis missed on that one, but that's neither here nor there. Again, it's a very emotional time, man. So you might say some dumb shit, some crazy shit, whatever. But I think, again, when you take out the full quote and you watch the full clip, it's not that bad. Could he have taken more ownership? Absolutely. Right? Could he have said, hey, it needs to be on me. I'm the league MVP. I need to be going out there doing what Tatum just did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. But it is what it is, man. He kind of told you after game 6, I didn't get the ball for the last 4 minutes. What the fuck do you want me to do?
Yeah, that's basically what he said.
He literally said that. I don't know. I didn't touch the ball for 4 minutes.
I hated that quote. We want to talk about quotes. Bro, that's something that me and you would say. Hey, Embiid didn't touch the ball for 4 minutes. Fuck, you're on the floor.
You think this guy gonna take it?
Bro, go get the fucking rock. What are you like? What? That's
James
something.
Here,
I hated that quote.
You didn't like that one.
For the last 4 minutes, I didn't touch it. What am I supposed to? Gee, are you not playing?
Yeah.
Are you sitting next to me and Nick in the fucking lower bowl? What are you talking about? I didn't get it. Go get. Make sure you get it. That's the type of shit. Yeah, I hated that quote. But what do they do, man? Before we move off and talk a little Miami Heat, what do they do? Do they just try to fill it in around Maxey, Harden, and Embiid and just try to add some more pieces? Or do they move Harden? Because Harden might try to ask for some absorbent amount of money too. That's the other issue.
Well, James Harden's your point guard, and we've talked about it before. We think he's one of the best point guards in the NBA, and clearly he is great at getting the ball to Joel Embiid and leading Joel Embiid to being a 30-point plus per game scorer. But I think what James Harden isn't anymore is a consistent 20 to 25 point per game guy. So I think what you really need to do is upgrade Harris spot, right? For me, Maxey, we love Maxey, but Maxey is one of those guys who's going to be like, there's going to be nights where Maxey's just not going to have it. Like, I don't think you can consistently rely on Maxey being, I mean, he's got to kind of be your number. You know what I mean, though? Like
number
not
3, you're saying?
He should be a 3, realistically, right? So if you could upgrade that Harris spot to somebody a little more reliable.
So what you're saying,
yeah, I would 100% bring Harden back. I don't know how you're going to do better in that spot. I don't know who you're going to go get. I think he's a great point guard. I think that he's a guy that plays well with Embiid. I think he plays great with Embiid.
Make Harden a pure passer.
Which
go get a number.
Go
get a number 2 scorer, and then have Maxey be your third guy. Harden is basically averaging 13 to 14 points a game.
Yeah. And go get a legitimate backup for Joel Embiid. Like, I like Paul Reed, but Paul Reed is a 6'8" forward. You know what I mean? Like, he can't be playing your big man spots if something happens with Joel. So I think you also – and they've tried it. I mean, they brought in Horford. They brought in Dwight Howard. They brought in plenty of guys. But, I mean, again, they're the front office. This is what you got to do. Bring in a legitimate backup for Joel Embiid and get me a real scorer. Not Jordan Poole, because Jordan Poole and Maxey to me are kind of like the same thing. You know what I mean? I think Max is better. But, that's the same type thing. Of kind of like a trick-or-treat.
So is it a world you bring Tobias off the bench?
You could. I don't see why not.
And they need him defensively, though.
Yeah.
As much as I hate him, he does play a little D.
Yeah, for sure. He's a 6'10", yeah. Yeah, maybe let him cook. Maybe give him his own minutes. I mean, we've seen Tobias Harris score in this league, but
no,
I mean,
listen,
just,
bro.
Yeah, I would try to move on from Tobias.
If we're trying to look for Tobias to score 20 a night, it's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know.
And the guy that you bring in has to be a shooter.
It's a really interesting roster situation because, but this is what I'm saying, Nick. If they win Game 6, it's like, great. Oh, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. Run these boys right back and maybe add another shooter.
Well, I'm trying to look at it that way. I don't think it's dire in Philadelphia. I think if Harden wants to go back to Houston, which seems to be the rumor, which I don't understand, I think he just likes living out there.
Yeah.
I think he wants to be in warm weather and not pay state income taxes, which I get. Philadelphia's, whatever. Remember, he hated Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he did hate Brooklyn.
He was like, it's expensive. He's like, what do you mean I got paid $30 million for a fucking studio? This is whack.
Yeah, get me out of here.
This is crazy. So, I think so. Maybe he just wants to go back to Texas. He liked it out there. Other than that, I see no basketball reason to go back there. But I think, you full court press for James, man. I mean, that's your guy. James and Joel are your combination. That's it. I think tried it out. I don't know what he's going to ask for. I don't know what he's in a position to ask for. But I think you got to be realistic with him. But maybe because he doesn't want to be in Philly, he is going to ask for a ridiculous amount of money. But I don't think the situation's terrible. You still got Joel Embiid. You should still be able to get guys to play there. I think you probably do got to move on from Doc. The Doc thing, I think this number, what was it I looked at the other day? I think Doc is 17-37 in career closeout games. 17-36.
Yeah, that's right. That's all the same number.
17-36 in career closeout games. So,
in a lot of those series, he's up 2-1, 3-1.
Yeah. But there's good. Tough. But good thing there's good coaches available. Call Nick Nurse. Call Monty Williams.
Budenholzer.
Yeah. No.
Not now.
No.
No second chance for Bud.
No, not here. Not there. If Bud wanted to come to the Bulls, I'd be like, this is great. Bud will do a great job. Bud's a good coach.
Yeah, no,
he's just
not.
True. He just can't be in a top 2, top 3 team type coach. Like, to me, I don't think he's a good enough in-game manager for that. But Bud is a hell of a coach. If the Bulls hired Bud, I'd be like, that's freaking awesome, man. We're gonna develop guys. We're gonna win a bunch of ball games.
Yeah.
Like, we just don't rely on playoffs.
All right, let's move over to the actual.
Get Ty Lue to Philly.
Where does
Ty Lue? I'm getting the hell out of the Clippers. I'll tell you that right now. That's a rudderless situation. You talk about a bad situation. Get me out of there.
Yeah. Let's talk about the performance specifically from Jason Tatum. Where does that? How did you feel watching that?
It was one of the best I've seen.
Yeah.
It was a 70-point, 51-point performance. One where it's like, if that was a close game and you got to keep him in, he's going for like 70. His third quarter. Really, his first half, what do you have, 31 in the first half? epic, man. I mean, if you want a guy to deliver, he 100% did it. Some of the shots that he was taking were big boy shots, like what we expect from Jason Tatum, what we want from Jason Tatum, what we want to see from a guy who a lot of people put in the top 10 in the league. Like it was big time, man. I can't give him a ton of flack like we always do and then not give him credit when he does something like that. He clearly came out on a mission, right? And he delivered.
23 in the third on 5 of 7 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3.
It was crazy. His third quarter was crazy.
Yeah.
It was a Warriors-esque third quarter from the Boston Celtics yesterday. So I got nothing but praise for Tatum today. That's how you deliver in a Game 7. You couldn't ask for anything more.
25 in the first half, 23 in the third quarter. Got some rest in the fourth. Still put up 9 points in the fourth.
He was on fire.
8.5 minutes, scored 9 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, in a tight game, he's going for 70 in that one. Like that's how on fire he was yesterday. Everything when he started throwing up the threes in the third quarter, I was like, yeah, it's over with, man. That one where he turned around afterwards and was like,
that
was like, yeah, it's over with, man. This is different.
Yeah,
they're not coming back. And at the same time, Philly's turning the ball over left and right. Like, yeah, it was over with, man. That was a dagger.
The legendary performance.
Legendary.
An opportunity for him to do that was gift wrapped and handed to him by the Philadelphia 76ers.
For sure. But he took it.
Yeah, no doubt.
No
doubt. That's what it's all about, bro. He even said that in the post-game presser. He's like, man, it was another opportunity for us. And it was, they did not fuck around with it by any stretch. So yeah, no doubt about it, Nick.
For sure, man. Like that's it. Yeah. Nothing more that needs to be said about Tatum's performance there yesterday. He did exactly what he needed to do.
Let's talk about the Miami Heat. I opened up a couple sports books, and typically me, Nick, our guy Eder, before we look at lines, we'll send a message and be like, yo, what would you make this number before we actually talk about the real number?
I would have never got to that one.
I opened up the Eastern Conference and I saw the Boston Celtics to beat the Miami Heat. I honestly, Nick, I would have been so fucking wrong, dog. I would have said like minus 300.
Yeah, I was thinking about 300, 260, 300.
I would have been like Heat plus 265.
Yeah.
The Boston Celtics minus 315. To see minus 550 in the Eastern Conference Finals, that has to be one of the highest numbers we've ever seen.
Without a doubt.
In a conference final.
Currently at minus 500 on Caesars, I'm looking right now. You can get the Miami Heat for plus 380. You can get 4-1 on the Miami Heat right now.
You get 4-1 on the Miami Heat.
It's one of those things where like I don't necessarily think they're going to win the series, but it's worth a sprinkle. Like, do I think it's impossible that they win? No. If you told me you're going to give me 4-1, would I want to take a nibble? Probably. So like I don't. Shit.
Well, I'm going to tell you this: the reason it's that high is because they flat out don't think Miami can score enough points.
No. But that's
that is the major concern going into that matchup. They were having trouble scoring on the Knicks, but we've seen time and time again the Boston Celtics have lapses and fuck around. Flat out just fuck around in games.
Yeah.
When they don't fuck around, it looks like last night. Obviously, we know what Tatum did, but there's a lot of different spots where it's like, okay, Boston is not fucking around. Like, for example, they were fucking around in the first half yesterday. Remember Eder texted us like, dude, I fucking took the point. I should have took the money line.
No.
It's like, yeah, relax.
Yeah, really chill.
Hold on. I'm trying to get some of these other props, playoff series props.
For who are you looking for Nuggets, like Nuggets Lakers?
No. I'm talking about the Eastern Conference. We'll talk about the Nuggets Lakers tomorrow. But playoff series games, like Boston in 5 is the favorite at plus 230. In 6 for Boston to win in 6.
I got plus 250.
Yeah.
4-1. Boston 6 plus 375.
Okay, let me ask you this then.
Sweep at 450. They're not sweeping them.
Series total games over 5.5 is minus 120. Under 5.5 is plus 100. Would you which side would you go in that?
Say that under 5.5 is what?
Under 5.5 is even money. Over 5.5 is minus 120. So essentially, will it go 6 or 7 games? Boston and Miami.
Yeah, I'd probably take the under.
So you like Boston in 5 then? You're saying?
Yeah.
Unless you're taking the Heat.
Yeah, unless we're taking the Heat. Yeah. I mean, if I had to pick one of those, I would take I'd take the even money on it. Yeah, it's gonna go. Look, man, they're either gonna come out there and just steamroll them, or we're gonna have some major questions about the Boston Celtics after this series. There's no real in between for me, so I don't know. I just don't trust Boston, and I do, and like it's like one of the most untrustworthy teams versus one of the most trustworthy teams. Like, I get it, Miami can't score, like they have a lot of issues. It essentially is Jimmy versus everybody sometimes, but like, you saw it in that New York series. They literally are so good at getting whatever shot they want to get. And if they're hitting shots, it's a problem. The bigger issue, though, is if Boston's hitting shots, it's over with because they're going to blow them out of games, right? If you see these games like Boston was having to start the year where they're shooting 57% from the field and hitting threes and stuff, it's over with. But if Boston implodes in a tight game, that's when it becomes scary for Boston against Miami because Miami's going to keep executing, and we know that Boston can't execute down the stretch, but it might not even get there. You could see a lot of last night's happening, or I'm sorry, yesterday's happening.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think maybe Boston finally woke up a little bit, but I wouldn't doubt if they.
I kind of like that even money, but then at that point, why wouldn't you just take Boston in plus 250 to win 4-1?
Yeah, and
unless you think Miami's winning in 5, which is crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, right. No, it's a good point. So I'm going to be rooting for the fucking Miami Heat like the 1998 Chicago Bulls. I do know that.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I don't want to see Boston in the finals. They don't deserve a ring.
I'm going to be rooting for the fucking Jimmy Butler in the Miami Heat in a very major way. So
without a doubt,
we'll see how that shakes. We're not going to give y'all a full hour today because we'll be right back tomorrow. I do want to get your opinion on this. And then tomorrow we're going to talk Lakers Nuggets. I want to talk about the Warriors, and I want to talk about Jordan Poole specifically. And I want to ask you something. Because no one's talking about this. I haven't heard one single person talk about this. And we've talked about how the contract starts next year, $128 million. They're on the books for. They're on the hook for a lot of bread. Is there just no way that he could have a good offseason and come back and be an impact player? Should he have the benefit of the doubt coming into the season with getting punched in the face and that never really righting itself? Something was off about the Warriors all year.
The whole team, yeah.
So
I think
are we writing off Jordan Poole, or is you really worried about just his game overall, period?
Well, I think that he was overrated to begin with. Like, I think he got hot and he filled the perfect role that they needed in the playoffs last year, right? They needed another guy, and he was that guy. But I told you coming into the year, this is going to be a tough year for the Warriors, right? We just knew that, again, that championship that they won last year, first off, to me, it's one of the most impressive I've ever seen when you just kind of put the whole story together and just what they had to go through and just coming back after all that and pulling one more out. But there was never any way that they were going to be great this year. And you saw it on the road, right? Like, when your road record is that bad for a team with that much experience, like, it tells you that, like, they didn't have it. And you saw it in this series. They ran out of gas. So I think nothing was really right with that Warriors squad to begin with. Draymond did punch him in the face at the beginning of the year on video, right? So you had to deal with that. I think that eventually blew over. But I think he's an inefficient guy, right? So he can get hot. He can have his moments. So is there things that he can work on and become a better player in the offseason? Absolutely. The problem with him, though, is he adds zero value if he's not scoring, right? If he's not hitting shots, he's not a good defender. He's not a good playmaker. He doesn't really do the other things that help you out. So if he can get better at that stuff, absolutely, right? If he can raise his basketball IQ, because he's always going to be streaky. So if he can raise his basketball IQ and add value in other areas, sure. But I never was looking at Jordan Poole like, yo, this guy is next up. He's one of those guys. I understand why they paid him. I don't think they really had a choice coming off of last year. But I was never like on Jordan Poole is the future of the Warriors, and this is the next, this is Klay Thompson's replacement here. Like, I always thought that was kind of a little bit much. Again, he played awesome last year in the playoffs for them when they needed him, but he's in a great situation. Great situation.
No question. All right, we'll leave it. Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's yeah. So I think again, man, I'm not writing him off, but I never had him that high.
Never wrote
him in. And if you want to blame him for this year, like Kerr told you, these boys ran out of gas, man. It was never happening.
Yeah, that's a fact. All right, we're going to leave it there. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about the Lakers Nuggets, do a little preview there. LeBron has a chance to go to another finals. It's the bubble, same squads from the bubble in the conference finals this year coming up. Not the same players. I think there's only 15 players on the roster.
They did beat the Nuggets in the bubble, didn't they? Yeah.
From all 4 teams. Yeah, the Lakers beat the Nuggets in the conference finals in the bubble. They got a little rematch here. We'll see what Jokic and the boys look like a second time around. For Big Nick the Quick, I'm your host, Sean Little. No Catch All Sports Talk via Chicago. We'll see y'all tomorrow.